Welcome to my review of The Boys Season 2, Episode 5. We're past the halfway mark of the season, a very Stormfront-centric episode, so let's talk about it. In this episode, Billy Butcher bites off more than he alone can chew, and Stormfront starts to directly poke the bear and get under mostly everyone's skin. So before we actually get started on this episode, let's address episode 3, where we find out the truth about Stormfront and her not so bright qualities as a person. A character that everyone fell in love with how spunky and confrontational and takes no shits from anyone she was. And then episode 3 came and everyone was like, I can't admit that I like this person now. This episode doesn't make it any easier for us because it's easy to like how she confronts everyone, how she doesn't take shits, how she's not afraid of Homelander or just basically anyone. But in this episode, she pokes the bear. She starts messing with Starlight. She actually knows more than she let on. She messes with other people in a very uncomfortable way, in ways that I didn't think The Boys as a TV show would pull off, but I'm very glad they're actually doing it and showing there can be people like this in our world, and unfortunately we know very well there are. It's the kind of episode that puts you on somebody's side that you didn't expect because of how they are confronted by Stormfront throughout this. And her friction with Homelander actually starts to do big shakes, big earthquakes, figuratively, are starting to emerge because of how her and Homelander clash in this episode. I thought that was not only very poignant, but very entertaining. And Homelander, yet again, this dude is closer and closer and closer to madness. I'm not talking about what happened specifically with him in episode 4, because I'm reviewing this before episode actually airs, but holy crap, after episode 4, Homelander in this episode, there's one scene that I had my jaw dropped. But also this episode focuses yet again on Billy Butcher, and I loved what they did with Billy Butcher in this episode. This dude, he can't do it alone. That's what this episode shows. He's just in way over his head if he's alone, if he doesn't count on the rest of the boys. I love how Huey at one point stands up to him in this episode. I hate how quickly he backs away. I love how MM comes in to make the save, kind of, but I think they're attracting a little bit of how Huey was advancing in his arc and as a character and moving the story along. And now he's yet again not doing much in this episode. However, Billy Butcher, I love what he does in this episode. He has his own Captain America standing up to Thanos' army moment in this episode, and it's amazing because it's a very Billy Butcher way to do it. We also get a lot more insight into how badass Black Noir is. We also get a little bit more insight into what Stan Edgar's actual plan is. This is also a guy who's not taking shit from anyone, and what makes him so effective in this episode specifically is the fact that we've seen him, how much he is not afraid of Homelander and how much he's not afraid to stand up to Homelander in his face directly. I'm also getting more and more afraid for Starlight. In this episode, she feels isolated from Huey, from the boys. She feels completely alone just in the midst of the bad guys, just the snakes in that pit. It feels like she has no way out in this. I think it's really funny, however, but also kind of even disgusting seeing how Homelander is trying to take control of Maeve and everyone around him, and it begins to feel uncomfortable in a great way. I think it makes Homelander feel more and more frightening by the episode, and I love that to do that in here. As far as issues in this episode, I mentioned the Huey one already. There's a decision made by Homelander, and I don't dislike that he makes a certain decision. I dislike how quick his turn is. It's from one scene to the next, literally, and I felt it was just a bit abrupt. I don't think we needed another episode before that turn. I think we needed an extra scene in between to have him linger on a certain decision, have him think about it a little bit more, have us see him how much he dislikes that he's making this decision, and that's just it. It's one small adjustment. Despite small issues, I think this furthers the story in a very tense, frightening, very funny, very poignant way that it just fits the mold of The Boys. For Butcher, for Homelander, and for the show stealer this season, Stormfront. The last sequence in this episode, straight from the comics. And I love it. So those are my thoughts on Season 2, Episode 5 of The Boys, My Beautiful Geekies. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know how hyped you are for this episode. Have you seen Episode 4? Have you seen my review of Episode 4? And have you seen the first 3 episodes? Let me know all of that in the comments below. And thank you so much once more for watching. Stay tuned for many more reviews to come very soon. I hope to see you in those. And so until next video, please don't forget to like, to share, to subscribe, because it really helps me and the channel out. But most importantly, above everything else, forever and always, love each other and love the movies.